Hey guys, Rexasaur here, and welcome back to Total War Warhammer Lore, where we will be looking at the Dark Elves today. And who are the Dark Elves? I will also be going into the history of the High Elves in a kind of Civil War kind of thing, because these two factions are interlinked so much, and it's very important to know all that. But before that, we will look at the map, and just to tell you that the Dark Elves are currently in what's called Nazaroth, which is next to Uthwan on the left in basically what is Canada, and a bit lower down in Mexico, and that's basically where they live. But let's hear the history. Now, I have looked this up quite extensively. I think that the Wikipedia page was really helpful. But basically, if you remember, the first Phoenix High King was Anarian, and basically I was wrong in thinking that the High King was murdered by the Chaos. This wasn't true. In fact, well, it is true, but it happened after Anarion defended against Chaos. So basically, he had married the Ever Queen, had children. She was assassinated. His children were taken for safety to where the Wood Elves would eventually live in Bretonia, but he wasn't told, so he got really mad. He took the Sword of Cain, who I will explain later. He took the Sword of Cain, the bloody-handed god, and waged a new war on Chaos, where he rescued a high elf by the name of Moriarty. Now, Moriarty is a evil person who wants just power, who bore him a son, Malekith. Now, Malekith basically was trained by both Moriarty, who was a fantastic wizard. She was an amazing sorceress, knew a lot of magic, and Anarion knew everything to do with combat. He was the greatest warrior ever to live. So that happened. He died. Malekith did not become High King because the council didn't want it, because of the taint of the bloody hand gods, of basic the taint of Cain. Cain is the bloody handed god. She turns out it's a woman, apparently, according to the Wikipedia. Bloody handed god, Lord of Murder. So when you look at it, yeah, that would be kind of tainted kind of thing. So he didn't become High King. His mother was fucking mad. He, however, did become Supreme Leader of the armies, because that's a good idea. And after that, he went to the council, wanted to be High King, didn't become High King. He killed the council people. He tried to basically the new Phoenix King has to walk into the Fire of Azeran, which is where Anarion got all his amazing power, and he walked into it, got really burnt, and then a civil war happened because everyone was like, you've hacked it. So there was a massive civil war. They split off. The High Elves kind of won, but very barely, and there we go. That's basically how the Dark Elves formed and why there's such an enmity between the two. Now, the Dark Elves are really cool. I think they're really cool, because they look sexy as fuck. That's about it, really. That's my opinion. No, they are really cool. Their units are really good. They are basically the same as High Elves, except evil kind of thing. It is literally just the case of that. But basically the Dark Elves think they're better than everyone else. They will fight everyone, and they will use every advantage they can to win. That is why one of the big units of the Dark Elves is something like the Assassin, which is damn cool. The Assassins is one of the only two factions in the whole game to ever have Assassins, which are hidden units within units. So you'll have a battle, and then you'll have like your general. You're like, oh, I'll charge that unit. It's like, oh, I have an assassin. What? Murder. It's like, oh, fuck. Only Skaven are the only ones to ever have Assassins, which is pretty cool. I think there are now more, but back when I used to play a few, like I haven't played in a while yet, they were the only two factions with Assassins. Anyway, so Dark Elves have Assassins. They also have the same kind of army structure as the High Elves, in the same way that they have spearmen. I think they're called Dread Spears in this. They have things like bleak swords, and they have really cool units called the Black Guard, which are like the elite swordsmen, the equivalent of the swords masters of Hueth for the High Elves, and they are so badass. Dark Elves also have access to the Hydra, which is an amazing monster, which is fantastic and just looks so cool. They also have ability to mount dragons. I think only the heroes do in the tabletop, but I can equivalently see that happening in the Total War Warhammer game, because why not more flying units, dragons like that. I do not. Obviously, they don't get access to things like phoenixes. Cavalry-wise, the Dark Elves actually have Cold One cavalry. Now, a Cold One is basically like a lizard horse kind of thing. Like, it's not a horse, it is basically like a raptor, and they ride raptors around, which is so cool. And in the tabletop, it means that not only do they count as being on horseback, but in combat, the Cold Ones actually fight as well. So it's like, you know, like in the usual combat in Warhammer, in a usual horse combat on Total War, the horse will just charge and then just sit around doing nothing and maybe die at some point. Here in Total War Warhammer, when the Cold Ones get included, we're going to see Cold Ones attacking the foot troops. How awesome is that going to be? You can see like Cold Ones biting heads off and stuff. Oh man, like literally that is so cool. I mean, we'll be seeing that with things like dragons and stuff, but that is cool. Just having like a cavalry unit that can eat the opponent, like, oh no, my cavalry. It's like, oh, I don't care, I'll just eat you with my horse, which is actually a lizard. Whatever. It's so cool. That's all. Sorry, I just got a bit out of hand there, but I just really think that's really awesome. But yeah, and Dark Elves are also very good at things like magic. They have a lot of sorceresses who look very revealing because why not? You know, you're a Dark Elf, you're awesome, kind of deal. I don't know. But yeah, so that's Dark Elves. I'm sorry this video was kind of shorter than the rest, but that's because there's not really much else you can talk about Dark Elves. They have a lot of units, but they're kind of very similar to the High Elves, and it's very easy to get through them. But I mean, we could talk a little bit about Cain, the bloody handed god. I mean, if you look at the pictures, I did do one picture before, but this picture, oh my god, it just shows you the brute force of this god. The fact that the elves do not worship a god of chaos. They despise chaos. Chaos is like the antichrist for them. But Cain is like, they still worship the god of the Lord of Murder. How can you do? I mean, it looks so bloody badass, but why? It's so awesome. I just think it's great. I think it is a fantastic god to worship, in my opinion. And it's just awesome. I mean, compared to, say, the High Elves, who worship both Cain to an extent, and also they worship Azuran. The Dark Elves only worship Cain. So it's like, we only worship murder. And it's like, wow. I mean, they're almost as bad as worshipping Slanesh when you think about it. The god, the prince of darkness from the chaos god. So, I don't know. It's kind of strange. But anyway, I do think that the next expansion, up from thinking about it over this times of me preparing to do these videos, I do think that the next expansion will probably happen in the equivalent of the Americas with the High Elves, Dark Elves, and the Lizard Men, because it would seem like a really good setting, because they could add 4 factions there, because it's also very possible that the Skaven are there, and I will come into that when I do my Lizard Man video, which is the next video that'll be up. So yeah, so thank you very much for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't done so already, and I will be seeing you next time with Lizard Men. Ta-ra.